6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hello everybody, and welcome to Through Black and White Eyes. I wasn't sure what to do today because I wasn't sure where Newcastle were going to go regarding transfers, but so it is a deadline day show, that's what it's meant to be. But obviously people have seen in the news there's been a lot happening regards to other things, and I've got a little bit of information to give you as well, and I think Liam's coming on at 12 o'clock, so he'll be able to give you a bit of more info as well. Obviously it's been a funny week, from the Liverpool game to drawing Man City to drawing, well, some of the best teams in the world basically in the Champions League, and knowing our luck, come FA Cup day we'll probably draw Man United Liverpool away. So it's been one of those weeks, but I've thought about it. Can't wait to see the Champions League. Delighted with the draw. We'll talk about that a bit more later on. But today it's just going to be go through some info I've got, go through some deadline day stuff, and stuff regarding obviously the big announcements and Lascelles and Botman, etc., etc., etc. So, good morning all, good morning to you. Hi Leslie, morning Ben, and evening here. Well, what I'm going to do is, because obviously Liam's coming on in about 10 minutes, I'm just going to go through just a little bit of info that's come out at the minute. Eddie Howe has confirmed that there will be no signings today. So basically what we've got is what we've got. I'm going to get Liam's opinion on that, and I'd like your opinions on the comments if you think that is enough to take into the next season, into the current season. Sorry, I'm going to give my opinion on it. People have probably heard my opinion in previous shows, but yeah, that's what it is. Apparently there will be a couple of sales, and he's expecting 2 out the door. I'll go through that with Liam. I've got the 2 in my mind who I think it will be, and I think probably everybody else thinks exactly the same. So regarding deadline day, quiet. It's one of those. To be honest, I've never known over the years Newcastle to be, even with the new owners, to be very active on deadline day. I've been following the club for a lot of years now. Apart from the Andy Carroll saga, I can't remember another time where we've been really active on this day. And a couple of days ago I wasn't expecting it, and it's just what it is. But we'll go through that soon. I'm in Australia, that's why I can't be live every show. We both watch both. Absolutely fine. You can also obviously watch the shows after. It doesn't have to be live. I was hoping we would have maybe got a centre back or a left back on loan. I'm going to discuss that. We're in Australia, Ben. I'm sure I've asked before. Somewhere nice. Lovely place, Australia. Right. Regarding a little bit of info I've heard on Sven Botman. Basically, Eddie has confirmed that there's no ligament damage. It's just heavy bruising. So we're expecting Botman to miss the Brighton game, which is a blow. There's no doubt. Brighton are a good side. We're away from home. And we're expecting him back for the Brentford game. Plus, he's going to get time off because of the international break coming up. So that should give Botman time to heal. basically he's going to be in the treatment room this week, just getting a little niggle, nothing major, which is absolutely fantastic. But he is going to miss the Brighton game, according to what I've heard. So it is a blow, but it's something we're going to have to potentially get used to this season. And I've said it time and time again that did we do enough this transfer window? Not sure yet. So it is what it is, but it's good news on Botman. Buzzing with the Champions League draw. I remember when I did the show yesterday, it first come out, I thought, oh my God. And then I thought about it and thought, bring it on. The thought of seeing Rafael Leao, Kylian Mbappe at St. James's Park is just mouth-watering, to be honest. It's something that we've wanted for 20 years. I find it absolutely hilarious that Sunderland fans are laughing at the draw. Awful. But never mind, I'm sure they'd love to be playing PSG at home and playing Dortmund and Milan. But let them get on with it. But I am, like I've said, the San Siro, I've been before. It's, if you get a chance, go. It's one of the best experiences I've ever had, and I'll never forget it. Dortmund is one of the best stadiums, without a shadow of a doubt, for atmosphere. And PSG I've never been before, but I have been to Marseille, and I'm expecting it to be very similar to them. So it was another mouth-watering game that I went to in the semi-final. Just replying to somebody. Apologies for that. Just had to reply to a message. Western Australia, about 100 miles south of Perth. Very nice. Very nice. Me too, Adam. Was sure we would, but hey, Eddie is good at focusing on what we have and getting the best out of them. Yeah. That's what Eddie does well, doesn't he? He does. He's a genius when it comes to anything like that. Eddie's a master stroke manager when it comes to developing players, and I think that's probably why we've signed two of the players that we'll have this summer, because they are potentially fullbacks for the next 10 to whatever, so many years. So Eddie being Eddie, I'm sure it's lovely. Oh, God's country. It is lovely. I'm all right, Mark. All right, sis, you okay? I love visiting Newcastle. What a great city it is, Ben. It's lived here my whole life. Fantastic place. Doesn't matter where you go, you always like to come home, see them bridges, see the ground. Beautiful place. They play in Millwall, why play PSG and that? Exactly. I remember, but for some reason, I find it absolutely hilarious because of the teams withdrew. And I'm sorry, I've spoken to a few, as they say, normal Sunderland fans, and they are jealous. So it is what it is. Guys, like and subscribe, please. Yes, it's much appreciated if you're enjoying what you're watching. Hit the like and subscribe. It does the channel a world of good. Like I say, in the next couple of weeks, kids are going back to school next week, and I'm going to try and grow this channel a bit more than I can, because obviously Baz, due to commitments, can't do as much as he wants to do, and that's where I'm going to take over and do the stuff that Baz is struggling to do because of where he lives and commitments and everything like that. Right. Basically, regarding deadline day, I think it's just popped up there that Aston Villa have signed Clement Lenglet on loan from Barcelona. Now he is a centre-back. I'd probably say that that is probably somewhere in our squad that could have been looked at a bit more for me. But it is what it is, and just looking through a few of the other deals, Nunez has gone to Man City. Everton back in talks for Nonto, and Crystal Palace are in talks to sign Rob Holding. We were interested in Anderson previously, but confirm what Eddie said today. I think we're done, basically, for buys anyway. There's one thing I want to get out of the way, because people know what I think of this subject. Because it's not something I like to talk about. Eddie Howe has responded regarding Jamal Lascelles, and he has basically said that, get it up, and he is basically defending Lascelles, but by the sounds of it, he's not happy about Lascelles being out at the time he was. So this is basically what Eddie said, if you haven't heard it. We believe he was sort of innocent in the start of what happened, was acting as a peacemaker. Him and his brother are okay, which is good. And that was the most important thing, their safety. But we would prefer our players weren't out in the city centre in the early hours. Does the city need to become a no-go zone? Unfortunately, yes. With the amount of games we have this year and the profile of players, I'm not sure it's where we should be. So I think basically what Eddie's saying is that, yeah, they're defending Lascelles because Lascelles was acting in self-defence, basically, and which is a good thing. But I think Eddie has basically put a block on players being out till whatever time it is. Now, you can look at it both ways. They're just like us. They should be entitled to go out. But you look at it this way, that they are footballers. They are recognised. And when you decide or choose to be a footballer, then you have to put some stuff on the back burner. And socialising on a regular basis at 3 o'clock in the morning is probably not a good thing to do for a footballer. And unfortunately, it's what it is. But hey, what can you say? I'm just glad that the club are defending Lascelles, because they clearly think that he was acting in self-defence. And from the video, it clearly looked like that. So that's something I'm happy resolved, done, and let the club deal with that internally. Trust in Eddie, the previous one, yes. Yeah, Mark, what a week. Was hoping for an Adidas announcement with a player attached. Well, I'm going to come on about that. I was going to wait till Liam came to talk about it. But I think, obviously, with the Amazon, I mean, not sure, looks like a cock-up. So I think basically it was a mistake by Amazon, and Newcastle have sort of done a little things. Maybe they were going to do other things, and one of the things that they have done, which will come up on the screen now, just ignore my face in the background, is that. So basically, I think that was the plan all along. We were going to wake up and we were going to see Adidas signs amongst the city. So I think the Strawberry probably did it earlier than they thought they were going to do because of what happened. But obviously you can see the Tyne Bridge, I wear the stripes, and other places in the city, which it's frustrating, because can you imagine waking up or driving to work and seeing that ahead of you? That would have just been something, oh my God, fantastic. But like I said, I'll get Liam's opinion, but this deal is going to take Newcastle to the next level without a shadow of a doubt. It's a deal that you will see, if you haven't seen on episode 4, that the club say it's the biggest deal in the club's history. So it is a mouth-watering one, and personally, I believe it is going to be a very, very big summer next season. So I'm delighted. The one thing I will say about Castore is I think their designs are good. I like their strips, but when it comes to everything else, they're just on it. And I've seen everything from ordering a Newcastle shirt with a receipt saying Tonali 8 on the back to the shirt coming with no Tonali 8 on the back, with a letter in the envelope basically saying that we will be in touch in due course about your Tonali. God knows what that means. What they're going to do, take the shirt off the person. I've got no idea. It's just Castor, good designs, terrible, basically, company. Right, Me Too, but doesn't look like it. Live in Hope. I'm not expecting a transfer, Leslie, but I think there's a chancellor. So Eddie's confirmed there isn't. So I would. Eddie is a lie. I'm not going to lie. He does lie, but I think time's running out, and you could look at it both ways. That is it a good thing? Yes, that means Botman is not as bad as first feared. But have we got enough? And that's what I will discuss with Liam. We've been doing that for years, but I thought we might have sneaked one more player in. I went for 6 at the start of the season. We've done 4, and we've sold one, like big one. So I thought we'd do a bit more than we have. I think it's a strange window for me. I think regarding the fact that I think we've signed 2 players who are possibly going to be our fullbacks for years and years to come, but are those players ready for now? And obviously Tonali's come in, went straight into the lineup. Barnes taking a bit more time. And then you've got Tino and you've got Hall, who are going to take a bit longer, because of that age or what Eddie does when he bets players in. But cracking signings, but is it good for this season? I've seen a few people state that they think we should have signed more first-team players for this season coming up. Now, in a way, I tend to agree. And another way you can look at it is, we're buying for the future. But I think it's happened at Man City as well. Basically, when Man City got that takeover, they went through a season of transition where basically it is what it is. And they had a dodgy season in their terms. And then all of a sudden, they went out and bought the Agueros and the Silvas and so on. And then Man City took off. I think that's what's going to happen most. I think this season, I know we're only 3 games in, I think it's going to be a bit up and down at times. I think we're going to have fantastic moments. And I think we're going to have moments where we think, oh, God, like we did at the weekend. But it's just one of those, isn't it? I think it'll be an up and down season, but next season will take off. And I will just bring Liam in.
Hello.
Hello, buddy. You all right?
Oh, yeah, I'm not too bad. How are you?
No, I am not too bad, mate. Not too bad. I was just telling people that everybody that it's deadline day show, but it's quiet regarding in transfers in anyway. Eddie's confirmed that basically no signings are coming, but there'll be some out the door.
Yeah.
Do you believe him, basically?
Well, he's just absolutely ruined my point of coming on the show, if I'm honest. I literally had everything in line for today. So we've had interesting players.
Yeah.
That's one thing that I've been given, that we've looked at loads of different centre-backs and what options we could potentially go for. None of them were going to be permanent transfers because of FFP rules, and just we have to, if we're going to get anyone, it was going to be a loan to buy. And then, so that was like an update I got off last night off one of the lads that I speak to, which he's really reliable in regards to his information, because obviously he's the one that gets Maxi and stuff correct. So, and then he messages literally, I'm going to check, I think it was like 9:30.
Yeah.
Maybe an early, actually. No, he messages at 8:30 this morning saying, just a quick update, no incomings for yous. So I was like, all right, mint. But then when I had a look at it, everyone needs to remember I think it was just after we signed Hall on loan. Howe literally said in the press conference that we're done. Like, he was like, once we sign Hall, that's pretty much our transfer business complete. Obviously, I thought that's Eddie Howe doing his usual tactic of throwing the media off, and he's going to work on some behind closed doors. But literally this morning, it was the full breakdown of the not going in for anyone now is based on the loan to buy options that we're considering, the prices the clubs were quoting were just ridiculous. So we're just like, we're not even going to try.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to be, it's going to be a nightmare because I know Botman's injury isn't going to be as bad as it's being made out to be.
Yeah.
But then it's also meaning we're also going to be putting full trust into Dan Burn to go into into centre back, which is fair enough when you've got two covers to go into left back for where Burn is. Because personally, I think Burn should be a centre back in anyway. Because I didn't want him going up against Mbappe in the Champions League. Let's put it that way. So,
Well, any look, Mbappe plays on the left.
aye.
But I was we might as well jump onto that now because I was going to say get your opinion, and I'm going to give my opinion. I've asked other people in the comments.
Yeah.
Do you think we have done enough transfer wise? I'll get your opinion and then I'll get mine.
Based on the restrictions we've been made out to have, yes. I think even from the get-go, once I seen was signed to Tonali, I said he was the top target for the window. And the one thing I think we've seen from the owners, we sort of do that thing at the moment where we've got a key target for the window. That's the player we'll buy, and we'll try and get a few more little deals around him. So I'm not surprised we haven't went and spent an absolute boatload of cash on someone else. So I think we've done more than enough, but it's how we handle it. That's the problem I've got is I'm hoping we can handle it and we don't get an injury crisis because we do. The defence-wise, we're going to be pretty short.
Well, I haven't got it for the screen, but I've written this down, right? Eddie said that he wanted 2 players per position, right?
Yeah.
Eddie's got that, and I've got the bench here, but the only problem is personally, I don't believe some of them players are good enough, right?
Yeah.
And that's not against, I'm not having to go at these players, we're just jumping a different level, right? I've said it time and time again, there's not one player in this Newcastle team that I can't stand, right?
Yeah.
It's happened for years upon years. This team, I've got nothing but respect for all of them, right? But you've got Pope and Dubs, goalkeepers, Trippier and Tino. Bear in mind, this is not people like Kraft. I've got them on the bench. Sean Lascelles, Botman and Byrne, Hall and Target, Tonali Longstaff, Bruno Willock, Joe and Anderson, Gordon and Barnes, Miggy and Murphy, Isak and Wilson, right? Then on the bench, you've obviously got Miley, Carrius, Murphy, Ritchie, Dummett, Manquillo, Kraft. So it's a big squad, but a couple of injuries to certain players, and I think we're in trouble. Right now, I think midfield we're a bit more stacked than I thought we were. Right, I'm quite happy. As soon as Joe Willock comes back, the emergence of Lewis Miley, Anderson's played well in pre-season. I think we've got enough. Right.
Yeah.
I do think we need a 6, and that is my number 1 target because I think a number 6 will transform the rest of them.
Yeah.
But it's defense for me. It's just we're going to say it tomorrow, right? Because from what I've heard and from what you've heard, Botman's out the game. Yeah. But he should be back for Brentford, right? Mm-hmm. So we're going to say it tomorrow against a pacey team who've got Matoma. Whether the new signing Ansu Fati is going to play, I don't know. But they are a quick side, Brighton. So we're going to say how we deal with it. I am worried about the pace, and I think Liverpool exploited that in the last 15 minutes of the weekend, right? As soon as Botman went off as well. I know Botman made a mistake for the first goal, but he doesn't make many. And for that mistake Botman made, you also stopped a goal from Salah with that tackle. I personally don't think we've got enough in the back line, and I think that'll get shown up at times this season. Mm-hmm. Is that what you think?
I'm 100% with you. I mean, if you have a few injuries, like you're saying, a few injuries to the centre-half department, we're a bit knacked. Wing-backs, I'm not too worried about because wing-backs, I think there's more than enough cover for people falling into positions in wing-backs. It's centre-backs, I just think. We know how, you'll not openly admit this, but we know when he come in, Lascelles was never his first target to play at centre-back.
Yeah.
And we're known time and time again that Hal would much rather play a half-fit Shaw than a Lascelles on that team. So it shows you that the confidence Hal has in his named captain, let's say, he's not fully confident with him. So if, for instance, we get an injury to both our 2 starting centre-backs, we're going to be stuck because Hal doesn't have the confidence in Lascelles. I think Lascelles is, as much as I hate to say it, I'd love to have seen him. He has got better in some departments under Hal. I think his confidence has come back as a player, but I don't think he's excelled as much as everyone else in the team.
No.
So it's one of those things. If that injury happens, then say, for instance, let's put it this way, worst case scenario, Shaw gets injured tomorrow and it's really severe.
Yeah.
Stuck with Lascelles as your main starting centre-back, and you've got, I think there's 20-something games before January now, because of obviously the group stages and the cups. So then that means we've then got 28 games of hoping Lascelles stays fully fit and doesn't pick up an injury.
Yeah.
So then we've got that big issue again. Who's he going to play there? Is he going to play Dummett or Byrne, who can't play with the right foot?
I mean, everything can't be built overnight. I get that, right? But I'll use an example here. Clement Longley has just won to Villa on loan.
Yeah, I've seen that. That's mad.
Yeah, from Barcelona. Now, could we have not possibly gone in for that one? The reason I'm thinking is, look, fair enough, right? He's probably not the player he was, but he's a player that Unai Emery's interested in. Now, that appeals to me, because Emery is one of the best managers in the league. So he saw something, right?
100%.
Now, I mean, at some point, we've got Botman's injury. Like you've said, if Shaw gets injured, we're going potentially, probably won't be, potentially going into the Brentford game with Lascelles and Dan Burn at centre-back. That's scary, right? And it's nothing against them two, right? Like I said, it's just the way it is, because them two are not going to be Newcastle's first team 11 next season. And I've said it, the good thing about the Champions League draw for me is you are going to see which players are good enough to take us to the next level in them 6 games. And you're going to see the players who are nowhere near good enough, because you're playing some of the best players in the world now, and you're going to see, right, him, and him, that they can go on, him, and him absolutely got tortured. So it is what it is, isn't it? But I personally said 6 at the start of the season. We've signed 4 and we've got rid of 1 big player. So I wanted a left back, which we've got. And trust me, the kid we have got is potentially an England left back in the next few years. Honestly, he's that good. But we haven't done a centre back, and I think we needed one in May. So just for cover, basically, more than anything else. But I'm just going to go through some of the comments. I think the stadium naming will be the next big thing and bring another bit of money in. I agree, Mark, because I think the owners have practically said that. But they will ask the fans, no doubt, because they have said that will not just wake up one day and it'll be called the Sports Direct Arena, for example. Can I please have a shout out? Do you have a shout out? It's been a great window. Club has taken a long-term view. Maybe a central defender short of awesome. I mean, what would you rate it, Liam, out of 10? Because I've seen a few people rate the window.
I'll give it an 8.
Yeah.
Based on the players we've signed. To make it a full 10 out of 10 for me, it would have been getting that clinical centre back in.
Yeah. I think it's a funny window for me, because if you're going off on first team this season, I think it's a 6 or a 7, right? You're going off potential and future signings and what we're doing this season as well. It's probably an 8 or a 9, right?
Yeah.
I just think we're just missing. Remember last time when we bought Dan Burn, right? We got Dan Burn in. He wasn't somebody who, oh God, I didn't know where did that come from, this, that, and the other. It was just a normal Premiership experience centre back to keep going. That's what I think we should have done, right, at some point. And whether that is just somebody just to take one to January or take with. So there must have been a centre back out there who was better than what we've got, right? Now, plus, if you're looking at the Lascelles situation, we don't know what's happening with Lascelles right now. Is his mind on the game? I don't know. After what he's been through, this, that, and the other, we just don't know. It's one of those. And I just think I know I'm going on about, but I just think we're injury away from Sven Botman from being in trouble. That's my opinion. But our left back and right back will be the England defenders, and we will look at them as bargains. Yeah, I agree. I think they both could be. I've heard Chelsea fans compare Lewis Hall to Gareth Bale. Well, there you go. I'll tell you what, I'll take a new Gareth Bale, will you, Liam?
Oh, definitely. I'll take a new Gareth Bale. I know the one thing is, though, and I keep saying about this Lewis Hall kid, he's young, which is what I love, because he's just literally going to come for the team. He's going to develop much more. But the one thing he's always needed is game time. Even when he played at Chelsea, he got game time, but he didn't get enough. However, the one thing that he stood out for when I watched him play for Chelsea, the lad cannot deliver a cross mind.
Oh,
the way he bend that ball into that box is someone that Isak and Wilson will thrive off, but he has to start. He cannot be.
Yeah.
I don't get me wrong. I love Byrne. I love everything he's done for it, but there's no way we can stick with Dan Byrne going up against every single opponent this season at left back. Not a chance. Look at him against Liverpool. He played nearly, I think he played full 90, didn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
He went into centre back and replaced Botman when he went off.
Yeah. So he played a full 90 and he's having to track someone like Salah on that right-hand side for the full of that match and try and keep up with him and not be knackered. No chance. He was absolutely shattered. That's why we conceded the goals.
No.
You need that energy.
I can't vouch for the Villa game, right? Because I was on holiday, right? And I tried to get to watch it. But when I went to watch it in the sports bar, the signal was down. So I never got that one, right? So I kind of go off that one.
Yeah.
But Man City and Liverpool both went for Dan Burn, right? Kyle Walker caused Dan Burn numerous problems at Man City at times. Mm-hmm. And that's what teams are going to do. They are going to go for Dan Burn. And they just see that as the weakness. And if you're a manager of another team, right, who we're going to go for, lad? Should we go for Kieran Trippier, who's just been nominated Team of the Season right back, or should we go for Dan Burn, who we think is slow to be a left back? They're going to go for Dan Burn every time. Now, I think Eddie hasn't got the luxury because of the games we've got coming up for, like, saying to Bruno, example, I'm going to give you 9 games before you get in the lineup. I think Hall and Tino need to start making more appearances. Now, against Liverpool, fair enough, right? It's one of those games that just transform within 15 minutes, right? But at some point, giving Tino Livramento 5 minutes here and Lewis Hall 3 minutes here is not going to work. I said that we needed, I said to Baz last week, wouldn't it be handy if we had an easy Carabao Cup game next week?
Yeah.
Right? Because we could have gave some of these players a game. Now we've got Man City at home. All of a sudden, you're thinking, is he going to play these young lads? I don't know, but they need minutes. And Anderson needs minutes, for example. And I just think he's going to have to hurry it up a bit quicker than he has done with previous players. And I think he will, right? Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised to see Lewis Hall start tomorrow with Botman being out. So I'm hoping it's not Target, because we could have Target and Burn on the left side here, and that's scary, right? So I'm hoping Hall comes in. How good is Lewis Hall going to be? We stole that lad 100%. Even Chelsea fans are surprised that they've got rid of him. Also can always play at centre-back. I'll tell you where Lewis Hall can play. He can play midfield as well. And apparently that's where he wants to play. Would he play Alex Murphy? Looks decent in pre-season. I've got Murphy on the bench here. I did get a message before saying, you've said Murphy twice. No, it was Jacob Murphy in the first team and Alex Murphy on the bench. Yeah, I agree. He had a great pre-season. And I said this to Baz on the show the other day, that I wouldn't be surprised if he brings a young player from the youth team into the first team soon. whether that's Lewis Miley, Alex Murphy, whoever it is, because I still think we're a bit short. I think injuries are going to... I mean, when you look at people like Kraft, is Manquillo still there? Has he gone?
Yeah,
I can't
yeah,
even
no,
remember.
Mike's still there, yeah.
Yeah, well, you've got Kraft, Manquillo, Dummett, Ritchie. They're not going to play many minutes, are they?
No.
So it's one of those, isn't it? It's just... I can see a few of the youngsters coming up. Right. I'll tell you what. I cannot remember the player's name. I'm trying to think of it, but we have on the verge of signing another young player from Shrewsbury, 17-year-old
This is that young
for the
Norwegian
youth
guy.
system. Yes, that's him.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name, but Alex Crooks confirmed it. He's on the verge of signing, so there's another one for the youth system.
Yeah.
I'll see if I can get his name at some point, but 17-year-old, not sure where he plays yet, but just had that come through.
I've got an
Anyway,
interesting one for Alex Murphy, actually. So he got asked about not that long ago. So when we got back from pre-season, he got monitored by a lot of Championship and League One clubs. Swansea asked for him. So before Ashby went to Swansea actually asked for him.
Mm-hmm.
Never happened. And the only reason I'm thinking that it's being rejected is because, like you're saying, Howe's going to want to bring that youth player through into the first team, and I think he might be the player that he's wanting to do it. He's also got, obviously, that Lewis Miley guy as well.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean,
Miley's the best talent I've seen come out that club
100%.
for a long, long, long time. Now, since I've been following the club, I'm trying to think. Obviously, there's the long staffs, Shola Miobi. I think Miley is next level.
Yeah.
And I think, Longstaff's even confirmed that he has never seen anybody as good as this come out of the youth system. So I think we've got a gem on our hands, but I expect him to be on the bench. But apparently it's got something to do with some European games we're playing with the under-21s or something. But I was laughing at this one from Adam. I think he spelled it wrong at the moment. I hope Paul comes in as well, but not like that.
I hope he doesn't really.
I was hoping we'd draw the dog and the duck under the nines for the next Carabao Cup game to give the lads a rest. I mean, I have to admit, you couldn't write the draws we've had this week. It's been one of those weeks, isn't it?
Mad. I literally said, as soon as I seen the first two teams in F, I literally said in that chat the other day, I says, watch, we're going to get F. Look, along the way, we got F. I knew it straight away. As soon as I seen the fact that PSG and Dortmund got drawn in the same group, I says, we're going to get that group. Because as soon as I seen Man United going to Group A, I was like, you jammy buggers. Like, they're so lucky in the way they've got that group bind. It seems to be a lot with Man United, though, that they get such a... I don't want to say it's an easy group, but they get, like, the weak group of the lot, if you get what I mean. Like, the weaker group of the lot.
It doesn't matter what pot they're in. It doesn't matter what pot they're in. They'll always get an easy group. They'll be in pot 4, but they'll draw like Feyenoord from pot 1. And you know what you mean? It's like they've always been fluky, man. As long as I've been watching football, they've always been. Do you know what? There's 2 games that stand out for them for me. One was when we were playing them for the title, and Schmeichel had the best game of his life, right? And they won 1-0. The other one was when they played Arsenal in the semi-final of the FA Cup. Arsenal destroyed them, and Giggs scored a wonder goal. But they've all Champions League final. They were getting more out of Bayern Munich, and then all of a sudden, they score 2 goals in the last 2 minutes. They've always had that spawny look, and they'll say, we've got the worst owners in the world, this, that, and the other. But that's just, anyway, I'm dribbling on about Man United. But that's just the way they are, isn't it? Is the young lad a centre-back? I think he can play centre-back or left-back, can't he? I think he's both, isn't he? Alex Murphy.
He's centre-back, but I know he has played youth level at left-back as well. But I'd want him at centre-back because he's a big lad as well.
Yeah, yes.
When you're big lads and centre back, it still shocks me to this day that Dan Burton did a solid job at left back. I made a little child sketch of actually the game against the weekend, just because I was analysing the last few games against like how I would put my team out, and I can't show it if you want, because this is what I would normally do if I was a manager. I don't know if it'll let us actually show you what I was going to do. Let's see if it'll let us share it with you. Hey there. Bear the drone though, it's only on paint. Let's see if it'll work. Is it going to work? Oh yeah, it is. There it is. Does it show yet?
No.
Show you my little paint drawing at the bottom.
I'm on my phone, you know, so 2 cents. No, now it's coming up.
You know when you add me into the show?
Yeah, on the guest bit.
There should be a little guest thing where it's got my screen at the bottom.
Oh, got it. Yeah, got it.
Right. So this is my child's drawing, right? This is our back line. This is Liverpool's player, and this is this is Salah, for instance, up here on the right-hand side. The one issue we have, as soon as Burn goes here to attack the ball, the first thing that happens is Salah's gone here through that middle there. As soon as he puts Burn. The issue we have straight away is Botman's going to go here to stop that. Yeah. And then what happens there is what we're seeing at the weekend. Nunez slips in that gap there. And it happens every single time. It happened when we played City as well. We had, for instance, this was Walker. So there's your blue man, Walker. You had Haaland here. Soon as the same situation happens again. Burn attacks Walker here. He gets drawn out of position. Haaland slips into the back line here. Then you've got Burn watching that run again. Botman watching that run again. Haaland slips in behind Botman. And then we're stuck. We've got Shaw who cannot catch Haaland. He cannot catch what was he called? Nunez. We're having this situation every single time. And that's the frustrating thing. Like, the analysing of that bit is what managers are exploiting constantly. Like, especially on the Man City game when you've got Walker sat here, and then you had was it Foden you had over on the left-hand side with Grealish? No, you had Foden, I think, played a bit of both sides, actually. I think Grealish and Foden were like here and here, but kept swapping between the two of them. Yeah. So you had this, and then you had Haaland that would just sit between the two defenders. Yeah. So then we had the situation of where Foden would switch with Grealish. So say Foden was on the right-hand side. We know Walker's going to attack down this wing here. So then the first thing Dan Burn's going to do is go to Walker. Then Foden's going to decide, all right, well, Burns moved. I'm gone there. Haaland then sees that Botman's going to go and watch what Foden's doing because Burns already out of position. So then Haaland runs in the back line. Shaw's like, well, what do I do now? Because he has Grealish. Grealish runs in behind Shaw. What happens next? Haaland's free in the middle. This is the one thing that you keep seeing managers exploit. And then obviously I'm not factoring in what the midfield's doing. But then this is the good thing about the midfield. So here's where we're free midfielders here. The first thing that's happening in here is, so say, for instance, Bruno's playing at CDM. There's times where Bruno's attacking the ball up here. And then you've got Longstaff or Joe Linton, who's over here somewhere. And then you've got Tonali chasing someone else down. For instance, when we played City, he was sat on Grealish like a duck, literally. Yeah. And then Grealish would just keep disappearing and we couldn't catch him. Which then literally just broke. We just had a void of two players there gone. You had Bruno here, who was just playing around with that midfield and constantly getting attacked by all the Man City midfielders. So then he was completely man-marked. And then you've got that free midfield here that were just constantly getting in behind this line. Trippier, he was attacking the ball, but then as soon as Trippier switches off or guns up this wing, he's struggling to get back. So then you've got like the young legs of your Foden and your Grealish, who's then just targeting Shaw constantly. And then Botman and Burn just keep doing the same situation as always.
I mean, what that does show, right, is, well, apart from like Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville should do it that way on paint, I reckon, right, is if we had a recognised number 6, because Bruno wants to go forward, right? If we had a recognised number 6, that is going to make a massive difference to our team, right? a huge difference, because that number 6 is going to sit in front of the back 4, and then all of a sudden you've got your Joe Lintons, your Tonali's, whoever, Bruno, you name it, they're going forward. That number 6 is just going to sit there and protect the back 4. And I think that's an issue we've got this season. Is I've seen it at times. Foden had a brilliant game. I'm not denying that, but I thought we gave him far too much space at times.
100%.
And yeah, I thought the midfield were just non-existent from at times. Liverpool, we were controlling the game. Tonali went off, right? And then all of a sudden, Klopp. I mean, the one thing happened, Klopp won the battle, Liam. He beat Eddie Howe in the tactic bit, right? And Klopp brought Jota on, and he brought Nunez on, right? What Jota did was, Jota played the Foden role, where basically he was going to exploit the space, and that's exactly what he did. Yep. And then Bruno lost the ball in the middle of the park, suddenly through ball, he was on with Nunez, and we've lost the game, right? And number 6 is just going to make, for me, it's going to make a massive, massive difference to that team. Last season, they were brilliant, right? Against the top team. Was it because Sean Longstaff's in there? Possibly, right? And I'm not calling Sean Longstaff the best central defensive midfielder in the world either. But it just shows what a CDM does to every team. And every team, your Real Madrids, they had Casemiro, Barcelona had Busquets, Man United had Roy Keane. They've all got one. And we haven't. I personally don't believe we've got to recognise one. Yeah. And until we get one, we're going to have games against the top sides where we lose. And I've no doubt they've got somebody in their mind, right? He's just not available because of FFP. There's this reason and that reason. I've heard a few people say, could Joe Linton play there? I personally don't think he can, because I think Joe Linton, I'm not going to lie, he's one of my favourite players in that team, right? But he gets bookings for a reason, doesn't he? And the reason he gets bookings is because he fouls too much. He takes too many players down. You need somebody to win that ball perfectly in the middle of the park. Tiote did it forward, and David Batty did it. So get one of them, and I'll tell you what, we'll go to the next level. 100%. Oh yeah, finish where you're drawn. Are you still?
No, that's just me, like, being... Well, this is, like, how we sort of line out when you're looking at it. Like, you'll always have your Trippier, who's a bit further up than Burn. Burn sits a bit further back, because obviously he's not as quick. But that's the one thing I'd always like to see. So if you literally keep Hall at left back, you can literally have... So, for instance, if you have your Hall here, you can push these up a bit further. So if you have Hall there, you've got your... This is personally how I would do a Newcastle line out. So I would go with your 2 centre-backs here. So you'd have your Shaw, your Botman, you'd have your Portman net as always. You'd have Trippier on the right, and then you'd have Hall on the left. That gives you that movement down both sides of the wings. It's a bit more of a threat to help you in the attack and play. So then you have someone here. So, for instance, like your Harvey Barnes, or you have your
Anthony Gordon.
I'd have had... This is the one thing I'd have. I'd have Anthony Gordon on the left-hand side, because I think he plays his best football there. That's just personal. Anthony Gordon, the one thing I'd be telling him, though, is move around here. So you're in the other opponent's half. Anthony Gordon, instead of just sitting on the wing, go into this attacking midfielder spot. And then as soon as you see this transition to play where Gordon goes here, whoever's here for their wing back is going to try and attack Gordon, probably overstep. Yeah. Gordon's got the legs to break away, and then the first thing you're doing is send Isak through here. If you keep sending Isak through there, they're just not going to remember that this is going to be an attacking play, because then what you do is you say to Miggy, right, Miggy, you move in. Miggy, move in and distract the other 2 centre-backs. Play what they do. And then I think the one issue we have at the minute is when we get stuck in the games, I love it when we get stuck in the games, but here's Bruno, who plays as with DM. You see it happen a lot where Bruno's the DM. You have Tonali, who's a bit further up the field, doesn't really play the DM spot. He's more like what Bruno should be doing, in my opinion. I think Tonali does a better CDM role. But, for instance, we're getting a pressing game where we're pressing an opponent. The first thing Bruno's going to do is he's going to go right out position and try and go here. And then the issue we'll have then is you get 2, 3, 4 defenders, midfielders that will just run this pocket of space over here. And I think it's
Yeah.
happened. It happened against City. It happened against Liverpool. We even seen Villa do it on the occasions where he was pushing up too high. I'm not saying Bruno's crap in any sense or anything like that. I'm just saying, like, this is what teams are going to do when they analyse what games.
He's not a 6 for me.
Nah.
I don't think Bruno's a 6. I want him further up the field. And do you know what it is? I think Bruno likes to attack too much, and then when he does, they've exploited the space, and Bruno's not quick enough to get back. And he's not a CDM for me. And I think I just think that's the way it is, isn't it? I'm gonna do Wesley. I'm gonna pop the comments on. But I think that's just the way it is. I think we need a CDM. End of. Right, Travis Hearns is a midfielder. I think that's the youngster. Hall plays 7 positions. He does. Well, just about that, to be honest. He's one of those, and Aaron Hughes could play anywhere across the back line, remember. Centre back, left midfield, and left wing. Favourite position, left midfield. If you're going off what Chelsea's saying, they reckon he's going to start as a left back, but he's going to push to left wing and become a Gareth Bale. That's what Chelsea fans reckon. So I'll take that any day of the week. Lad is class. Best technical board on YouTube. Have you seen that, Liam?
I tried my best, right? I just had to use paint. That's the only thing I can think of doing. I've got Football Manager on, but I can't really show you Football Manager.
Who needs a whiteboard when you have 3D paint? I completely agree. Man City overloading midfield to stop us. That's, to be honest, that's 2 managers now who it's something we need to expect this season. Last season, we were a team with potential. Now we're a team that's a threat. And they're going to try and do this. The best managers are going to come out and try and do this. And Foden, that's what Pep did. He got Foden to exploit the spaces in the middle of the park. And that's why they're the best managers in the world. But the thing is that I said this the other day, Eddie, for me, made mistakes with these substitutions at the weekend. But Eddie will learn from this. Steve Bruce would just continue to make the same mistakes, right? So Eddie will look at this and he'll do something about it. That's what I think. Hello to you as well. Hello everyone. Standard Liège have made a bid to sign Hayden. Yeah, well, the 2 names we've heard that are going out the door are Hayden and Hendrick, aren't they? That's Eddie's confirmed the 2 players will be leaving, and that's the 2 that we thought. Where was Hayden? Hayden was Sheffield Wednesday. That's the name I've heard. Sheffield Wednesday. Hendrick, I've got no idea. He could be at anywhere. That man could be absolutely anywhere. I haven't heard. You heard a club for Hendrick?
What they're called? They're not an English team. It's I got told ages ago. There was a team that was monitoring for absolutely ages that weren't English. It was a Turkish side.
What, they've monitored them for ages and they're still interested? Bloody hell, Bill. They
wanted to get him because there was talk of him potentially going on a free.
All right, going.
But it seemed to have died. I'm just going to find out who it was again.
I'll see if you can find him. Thanks, Owen. Good move for him. Hello again. Bonds left, Gordon right. I said that at the weekend.
Alan Spore, that's what they're called. Alan Spore went.
Well, I said this at the weekend, right? Then I understood why Eddie kept Gordon on the left, because he absolutely destroyed Trent. So what I think is going to happen is with Miggy, Bonds and Gordon, I think Eddie's going to judge it on who we're up against at fullback. And whoever Eddie thinks he can exploit, I think Gordon's going to go up against. So Gordon will not be at the right on the right wing tomorrow because there's Stuppian players there, and he's one of the best left backs in the country, right? So Gordon's going to play on the left, right, tomorrow. But that is something I think could happen at times this season. Europa draw done. Haven't heard of so many of these teams. Neither have I. I think is that the Europa League or is it the conference? Because I think Villa will win the conference league. Oh God. Right. Something's just come up on my screen there. Nothing to do with us, but Liverpool have rejected a £150 million bid for Mo Salah from the Saudi club, Al Ittihad. My God. £150 million.
Unbelievable. Absolutely unbelievable.
You know what just shows you, doesn't it, that, you know, if FFP wasn't a thing, right, these owners would go out and spend an absolute fortune on a player, mate. They would. We would smash the transfer record if FFP wasn't a thing, because look what they're doing. I mean, that £150 million. God, how mind. Do you know what it is? More fool them for rejecting that. And I love Salah, right? But I've said this time and time again. Look at Declan Rice. Declan Rice left West Ham. West Ham have signed some cracking signings, right? Yep. Harry Kane's left Tottenham, right? I agreed with that because he didn't want to stay. So you get rid of him. This is where Leicester went wrong. Leicester didn't sell their players and ended up in the Championship. If you get a ridiculous bid like that for a player who is coming to not the end of his career, but he's not in his prime anymore, you could literally go out and buy 3 or 4 quality players to make you better. And I'm surprised they've rejected that. Are you?
Yeah. Well, it was early in the window as well that I got told that Salah's might be even. There's a talk of him still possibly going, actually. They have rejected it at the moment, but I believe it, if I'm right. I might be wrong. I'm sure it's the team Gerrard's just took over that won him. Yeah.
It might go the one Henderson's at.
Yeah, I think the one that Gerrard's at, and anyway, there was talk of Gerrard potentially really wanting to go for Salah because he loves Salah and he knows that given Liverpool the money that it's going to be over 100 odd million will also help benefit Liverpool as well. So that's the reason why it'll potentially go through in the end, but we'll see. I think he'll force his move, mate. I think Salah will force that move. Because
mate, the one thing is that I don't know if people know that, you know, the Saudi Arabian transfer window, that's still got a week left.
Yeah.
Right. So they've still got a week to sign him. But do you know what it is? You can look at it this way as well. You know, if I ran a football club, right, there's no way I would tell a team come and bid for my player on deadline day because I can't find a replacement then. I would have spoke to them about a week ago and gone, right, this is the fee, right? Put your bid in so we can get a replacement. I've never understood why massive deals happen on deadline day because, mind, I can't run our thing because Ashley was just greedy and took the money for Carroll, right? But it's when it comes to teams like Liverpool, that should have been sorted weeks ago so they could get a replacement in. I just find it bizarre. But 150 million rejected for Salah. Hall can play in midfield. He's class. He can. Hard group for Brighton as well. EA Keith, Athens, Ajax, and I think that's the team at the end, Liam. Mm-hmm. I'm not even going to pronounce it, but I think I know who it is. Yeah, but that is a tough group. We will go again in January. We'll go big with that game changer. I completely agree. We're going to talk about that in a minute because that's the big news of the day. But yeah, I completely agree. I'm not sure January, but definitely summer. In to stand a good team should good team should down. Morning lads and lasses, morning to you too, Joseph. And we couldn't physically do any more when we have the owners have let us down. They've never let us down. And our FFP is a thing, and I think just looking on the screen there that our owners are making a bid for Mo Salah, £150 million, shows you what they'd like to do with us, but they can't. And this deal, Adidas deal, is going to take it to the next level. That's what we all believe. 2-2 soft mark, up tackle, or block, Frank Clark style. Imagine Frank Clark on the team. Luton move fell through for Hayden. Hendrick linked with West Brom. Yeah, Hayden, apparently Luton could only have 2 loan players or something like that, and they decided not to bother with Hayden. But apparently Hayden's going somewhere else, and good luck with him, because I thought it might have been medical problems, but it wasn't, apparently.
It would have been a good move for Hayden, and I can't believe he's actually not went. I think it would have been a fantastic move for him.
Yeah. Well, apparently it's because of Luton. It had nothing to do with Hayden. Hayden was in there for a medical, and then something happened with revolving loans where you can only have 2 loans or something. Yeah. So I find that weird as well, because they got him all the way down there and then told him, oh, by the way, we're not signing you. I mean, like, it's off, you know what I mean? 150, I agree, I would snap the arm off. I really would. There's not many players that I wouldn't accept £150 million for. And not because I like that player, it's because what could we do with 150 million? Like, seriously, we could buy 4 players. I mean, with that type of money, we could buy 4 players, right, that are going to take us to potentially fighting for the championship. That's what 150 million pound can do for you. Because not only are you getting that, it goes towards FFP, and then it shows that you've made this, and then all of a sudden, what you can afford to spend goes through the roof. Yeah, they should sell. I completely agree. It's madness. I mean, you're not talking about a 24-year-old Mo Salah here. So Barnes would have destroyed Trent if he had played from the start too. To be honest, I've said this time and again, I think Trent is a very good player going forward, but when it comes to defending, I think he's shocking.
Well, that's why Southgate plays him in the middle, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think it's no. I didn't understand that, because Klopp started playing Trent in midfield, and then all of a sudden he's pulling back to fullback. And I'm telling you now, as long as I've got a hole in my arse, Trent Alexander-Arnold is not a fullback. No. Absolutely no chance. He's still attacking. He's Trent Alexander's strengths are he can hit a ball, he can cross a ball. So why is he playing fullback? Right, I know Trippier plays there, right, but Trippier can defend. He can't. That's 750 mil FFP. I mean, I'm not an expert on FFP, but I think, like, it does, doesn't it? It doesn't mean you've got 150 million to spend. It means you can spend a lot more.
Quite substantially, like.
Yeah. More would be a 1.3. He will. He'll be on millions a week. Spot on, Gary Madness.
I think Mo Salah, watch this by the end of the day, right? I think there'll be another bid that'll go in the day. I think Liverpool might end up sitting down with Klopp and saying, look, we can do so much for this money.
Yeah.
However, it's can they get a player in today? Because that's the issue they've got now is, in a sense, they don't need to replace Salah, because, in my opinion, they've got players that can play there until January, but you want to replace them if you're going to sell them. Because in all honesty, Salah's the best player. That's how Liverpool's fans see him. They're saying he's best player. So, I'm expecting another bid to go in the day. Once that bid goes in, I think the directors at Liverpool are going to sit down with Klopp the day and they'll say, look, can we accept it? Because we're looking at how it benefits the club. This is what we can guarantee you in regards to going forward and signing players. Also, you also have Harvey Elliott, and you've got all the other players that can play at right wing to fill in for that spot. I'm not saying Harvey Elliott's anything like Salah. I'm just saying other players that can play in this formation, or he can adapt until he has that new replacement. The one thing that will shock us is if Salah doesn't force the move. I think Salah's going to force his move. I think he's 32 now. Am I right in saying he's 32?
I think he's a bit younger. Maybe not much, though. Let's have a look. I think he's about 30.
So Salah at the moment's 31, right?
31,
so
right.
If I'm a 31-year-old man and I've been in the Premier League for all them years, I'm coming to the end of my career now and I'm going to get paid millions and millions a week. I'm sorry, like, but I'm telling you, I want that move.
Well, I don't think they're going to throw that bid in if they hadn't had assurances from Mo Salah that he's willing to go. Now, I've watched a couple of football documentaries and stuff like that, and basically, most of the time, you put a bid in is because you've had assurances that that player's interested.
Yeah.
It's like us. It's like us right now. If FFP wasn't a thing, send an email to PSG and going, here's £250 million for Kylian Mbappe. But why would we do that if we didn't think Mbappe was interested? Because there's no point, is it?
No.
Because you need to find out from the player, the agent, whether the player's interested in the first place. Then you can do a deal. But I think it's absolute madness. Absolute madness. Mind, don't be surprised if, because I've heard this as well, don't be surprised if this bid went in yesterday, but Sky have decided that we're going to announce it today to make deadline day look really good. Because I've heard that's a thing as well, is this could have went in days ago, but they've held off on it. I'll hit you at not where Gerrard is. To be honest, I'm not sure where half the players are. You know, when it comes to the name of it, I'm not even sure who Ronaldo plays for. Honestly, I'm not. I can't off the top of my head.
Another good thing as well is Saudi Arabia is literally over the water from Egypt, so Salah's really close to home.
Yeah, well, I mean, apparently Salah was their main target. As soon as they decided they were going to spend a lot of money on the league, I got told this months ago that Mo Salah was the number one target. And this come from Liverpool fans. And he was the one that was going to, and I think you're right, it's probably because of Egypt and stuff like that, that this is a major, major deal for the Saudi Arabian League. I personally think it's going to happen, but if I was a Liverpool fan and I'm getting that much money, I would think to myself, well, it's not doing us any good till January, is it? No. Because the problem is now is people are going to know Liverpool have got a lot of money to spend, and then all of a sudden the prices get inflated. And that's the problem when you sell a player. What was that one? Sorry. 150 million is crazy money. You can buy Mbappe another 30. I completely agree.
You're not buying Mbappe if anywhere near that margin anymore. PSG paid 200 million for him.
I mean, I'll tell you what I saw. I mean, Osimhen was reportedly 130 to 150 million, right? Now, Osimhen is one of the best, probably best young striker in the world. Mm-hmm. He's about 22, 23, however old he is. But he's cheaper than Mo Salah. I mean, try working that. If it came down to, 150 for Mo Salah, 150 off for Osimhen, I am taking Osimhen 10 times out of 10. Yeah. And that's just the way it is. Problem Liverpool is they've had to try to sign big players, but he won't go there. In fairness, I wouldn't want to go given all the price. Is J7 nicked up? Any update? I've heard, I don't know about you, Liam, but I've heard that Joe Linton is injured or he's a doubt for the game tomorrow.
I don't get much information on injuries.
That's one thing I get is I get a bit of info on players more than I do transfers. And I've been told that Joe Linton's having a fitness test for tomorrow.
I think the one thing I want to say is I want Willock back. I really want Willock back.
Yeah, I said that to Baz at the weekend. I was watching the documentary yesterday, and Joe Willock, nobody else in that team can do what Joe Willock did with that pass for Tottenham, right? And out of nothing, we got a goal. And I think we're missing Joe Willock. I just hope he comes back, the player, before the injury, because he got a bad in. Michael Owen got some horrendous hamstring injuries, right? I can't stand the bloke, but before his hamstring injuries, Michael Owen was potentially one of the best strikers in the world, right? Yeah. And he got them, and then all of a sudden, once your hamstring goes, it gets weaker and weaker and weaker and weaker. And I just hope he comes back. The player he was. He's 32. I know exactly. On the subject of Klopp, he said the day Saudi money came into Liverpool, he'd walk. That's exactly what he said.
Well, let's let him walk, because I'm
Mm.
going to guarantee you, as much as Liverpool love Klopp and they love what he's done for the club, right? If that's his mentality and his attitude, there's better managers out there than Klopp at the minute that they can
Yeah.
easily replace him with. They can replace him with
Oh,
an
without
army
doubt.
like that.
Look,
Do you know what,
this.
actually? The one that was going to shock me, actually, who mentioned it? I was talking to someone the other day, and I thought this was quite interesting. So, Brighton's manager at the moment, I heard a while ago that if Klopp leaves, Brighton's manager will get the Liverpool job based on how well he's done in Brighton. But it's if Klopp leaves. And I think, personally, that's what Liverpool need. They need someone that's like Brighton's manager, can deal with struggling situations with what they're involved in at the minute. I'm not saying Liverpool are in an absolute terrible situation, but they're in a situation now where they're not spending a lot. They're not getting the players that they need to get. I've said for years that Liverpool's had an absolute massive issue with midfield. I think that's one thing that I'll always say that Liverpool are really lacking in, is they're very good going forward. The front three, I'd hold my hands up and say, look, they're very good with the front three they've got. But it's the midfield behind them. It's just not there for me. I feel like it's unbalanced. There's too many players that's got too much flair. You need someone that's solid. The Fabinho, they've never replaced anyone for Fabinho. Fabinho was their holding midfielder. That was the strong unit to hold that midfield in together. Henderson was another one that tied that in. They haven't replaced anyone in that midfield, other than obviously they brought McAllister in. Let's not forget about him. But they've brought McAllister in, who is another player with a lot of flair, and he's not as strong as your Fabinhos, your Hendersons. He's someone more like your Thiago, so like Thiago going forward, getting the ball, bringing other players into play. That's the one thing I think Liverpool need, and that's why I think the Brighton manager would sort of be fantastic for this sort of job. He can handle sticky situations where the club don't want to invest in certain areas because of what, I don't know what their philosophy is behind the closed doors, but it's a weird one for me. The recruitment seems a bit weird. But if Klopp leaves, the one thing you need to remember is there's a lot better managers out there that would do a much better job than Klopp, and I'll always say that.
There's Nagelsmann, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think he's got a job yet, and he's but it's clear he's waiting for a job, and he's waiting for a job with money. That's what he's waiting for, because he rejected Tottenham. The next comment I'm going to put up, Liam, I 100% agree with this, but I'll just see what you think. As I said before, 2 to 3 elite players can make us title winners: right winger, right centre back, and number 6. Do you agree with that?
I wouldn't say guaranteed title winners. I'd say they'd give them more of a competition of challenging for the title.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say like guaranteed title winners, but I'd say they'd give them more competition. I still think, as much as it pains us to say this, we've still got a few seasons before we're like Man City. Man City are just a team that's been built for so many years now. Man City's got about 10 to 15 years on us in regards to the way they've recruited behind closed doors and stuff. I'm not saying that we've done terrible, but I am saying that we've done terrible in regards to when we're under Mike Ashley. If we get the basics right and you get the big guys in, your top targets and stuff, I think we can see us challenge a lot more in these big games. But it's at the moments of where, if Man City play that B team against us, they're still going to give us a good game. If we play the B team against Man City, we're not going to give them a good game. We'll get walked all over the pitch.
You know what? I mean, we'll get there, right? But you know where I think we're behind the top teams, right? And I'm going to put Tottenham in it. No. Is Cole Palmer's left the day for £42 million, right? A potential player. I'm surprised, if he's that good, why Guardiola's got rid of him, right? But the big teams have got assets they can sell for a lot of money, right? A lot of money. And this is how they grow their clubs. That's what we haven't got, right? Now, when you're selling St. Maximin for £20 odd million, that was the only asset we've had for a number of years, right? The rest have just been average players getting nothing for that you can't ship out. And that's the difference between as they quote them, the so-called top six in us right now. We will get there and we will have assets that'll be worth money. But I have no doubt in the next 2 years, you're going to see sales from us that are going to split the fan base. Some are going to be, so I'll probably sit there and go, what we're selling him for. But it's just the way football works right now because of FFP. And we haven't, until we get this, where we can sell players for a fee, we're always going to be behind for me. So when it comes to that, in a way, the comment's right, and I do agree with it, right? But what you said is you're right, because we're still a squad away from challenging. Like you said, the second team, Man City put a second team out and they give away a game. Our second team gets beat 6-0. Right? That's the difference. But we're getting there. We're getting there because our bench is much better than it was. That's for certain. We will create our own Mbappe soon. Well, we haven't got an Mbappe, but I tell you what, Lewis Miley's a cracking player and we could have created something else with him. But I hope so. If that came for Bruno for 50 minutes, I would say sell now. Ooh. To be honest, if £150 million came in for any of our players right now, I would be tempted, any of them. And I'm including Sven Botman in that because of FFP, this sort of thing makes you buy 3, 4, 5 players, right? And it improves your squad massively.
Yep.
And that's what my opinion. What would you do, Liam? Would you sell him for 150 million?
If it was earlier on in the window, I'd say yes. If it was deadline day, no, definitely not.
No, I agree. I think deadline day is ludicrous. Deadline
day is too hard because if we sell a player now, trying to convince another club to sell one of their top players ain't gonna happen. But if it was like, say we were in June, July, and there was £150 million bid on the table, I'd snatch anyone's hand off them. I've even said this already. There's gonna be a day one day of where everyone will cry because it's happened and it's over, but Bruno will get sold for a mega fee. Everyone will be upset, but what that'll do for us as a club in regards to FFP and the potential players we can buy is insane. It opens a door for possibilities that are endless. So
look, Bruno is my top 3 favourite players, right?
Yeah.
Sven Botman is, right?
Mm-hmm.
But to grow a club, we're going to have to make sacrifices at times. And my kids love Bruno, right? They would be absolutely heartbroken if Bruno left. But it's happened before. We sold Andy Cole, right?
Kabay as well.
And we've sold players in the past before and we've replaced them. That's just the way football's at. And until they get rid of FFP, right, it's going to continue to be like this, where players are going to get sold from a club that you don't want to go, but you have to do it for the benefit of the football club in the long run. If you don't do that, you have a Leicester City situation where you've got all these assets that go for nothing and you get relegated.
Yeah.
Right? And like I said, would I want Bruno and Botman to go tomorrow? Absolutely no chance whatsoever. But 150 million, you're talking about 3 or 4 top class signings to come in. And all of a sudden your team just goes through the roof. We've got plenty of cover for midfield. I agree, John. Joe Linton has done light training today. Yeah, this is just something I've heard of somebody that because of Joe Linton's injury, he's a doubt, but he's going to have a fitness test. So fingers crossed, because for Brighton away, you need Joe Linton, don't you? Gary, without the revenue and sponsorship, no one else, and I now can. To be honest, this is the thing. I think from what I've been told as well, these deals with Adidas and Seller and stuff like that, right, is the higher than what is being printed. Because obviously the club want to keep this quiet because they don't want everybody knowing how much they're getting.
Yeah.
And
they're not obligated to tell anyone that as well.
No, exactly. Yeah, you don't have to. This is something you don't have to display at all. I think the Premier League know, or obviously know how much, or this and the other for market value crap what they've just brought in.
Yeah.
But I mean, you could be absolutely right there, to be honest, because I think this Adidas deal is going to take us to the next level. I'll tell you what, Liam, what we'll do is I'll get your opinion while I'm going in the comments. But obviously, the Adidas deal's happened, right? It's been announced today.
Yeah.
Adidas have put it on saying we are back together. I've got a picture which I'll put up soon. But I mean, it's what we've all wanted. Baz has certainly wanted Adidas back. He's mentioned it last year. He's mentioned it show after show after show. Are you happy with Adidas?
I'm over the moon.
Mhm.
And I honestly think that I got told this ages ago, like literally when it just got announced about Adidas getting leaked and stuff like that. The Adidas deal is going to help us January. So it's going to be this season it'll help me. It's not going to take over until the summer. But
Mhm.
the money transfer between Adidas signing on and helping us is what's happened is for them to come in, they've had to pay a release clause towards Castor. So not Adidas himself. The club's had to pay a release clause to Castor to get rid of them. The interesting thing is Adidas, the club's been very, very, very intelligent with this. They've got Adidas to pay us a signing on clause for making the contract happen, as well as there's a down payment clause on top of that. So for them to make that work is the club owners have guaranteed Adidas, so the marketing directors and everything behind the club's doors have guaranteed Adidas more percentage over the first, I think it's the first 3 years that it was said, or the first 2 years. They've guaranteed them more percentage on profits that they can take from the club shirt sales to help them get that money back for the signing on clauses and stuff, because they're doing us a favor and giving us that money to make it look legit. It is legit. It's all legit, but it's a professional sort of like what Chelsea do, loopholes. So it's like a loophole that we found that we can use and exploit. So that's what I was told in that. So that's why January is going to be massive for us, because apparently this signing on clause, it's not going to be 50, 60, 70 million and stupid amount of sums like that. It's going to be enough to help with raise the FFP barrier and help us get a more fantastic signing in that January transfer window, because the club owners always said that each window they want to have a key target that they're going to go for. For me, January for us will be going for that centre-back that we need. Whether it's going to be the one that I said ages ago in regards to the Portuguese centre-back from Benfica, that Antonio Silva, whether that's going to be him, don't know. But the more and more I keep getting told about him being a top target, the more and more it's starting to look like he's going to be it. Issue with him is 100 million euros the one for him. If you get him, it's a statement signing. It's also a massive promotional value for Adidas.
Yeah.
So because him, you make him your front cover for your Adidas stuff and everything like that. So I think I'm over the moon with Adidas stuff as well. And the one thing as well is Adidas are very transparent with customers and things like that. When something gets messed up and it gets done wrong, Adidas will come out because of the massive reputation they've got, and they want to keep that reputation good. They'll openly admit if something went wrong. They'll say to the customer, we apologize, we've had this issue. Castor, turn a blind eye and blame it on something else, or they just don't fix the issue. So Adidas is just going to be everything we've needed for a long time now.
Well, I'll tell you what they're going to do, right? It's going to start, you're going to start seeing loads of Newcastle shirts in China now, America, Saudi Arabia. Adidas are the same with the Saudi Arabian national team. That's no coincidence to me either. So all of a sudden, that people start seeing Newcastle shirts. At some point, me, you, Baz, Morrow, everybody, Blade, you name it, have all said, when this takeover, Newcastle are going to sign an absolute star who is going to sell shirts in Saudi Arabia. Now they've got Adidas and Seller on the shirt. That signing, I reckon, will be here next summer, right? Who that guy is, I have got no idea, but I think it's a high top rated player who is going to sell a lot of shirts. And now everything's in place for Adidas. It's not just for the nostalgia, because all the old kits are going to come out, this, that, and the other. It's they call it, it's a match made in heaven, really, isn't it? Because we're back together, this, that, and the other. If you get a chance, go and have a look on the Newcastle page, because everybody, I mean, I can't read them all. Everybody's commented on this, from Silverstone, everybody like that. Darren Neils has said that our upcoming partnership with Adidas evokes memories of some of the most famous players, coaches, and matches in the club's history. So we are delighted we will be teaming up once again as we look to create our own exciting future together. The club, supported by our fans, owners, and commercial partners, is on an exciting journey, and we look forward to continuing that as we welcome Adidas on board next summer. So they've all spoke about it. Darren Neils has come out. Mind did you say? Sorry, I'm changing the subject. You say Darren Neils here before about I've never seen a Macam in Milan.
Absolutely insane.
That was class. But it's just this deal's going to take Newcastle to the next level. It's a massive, huge deal, massive coup for the club. I think it's massive for Adidas. They're not stupid. They know they are going to sell millions of shirts from Newcastle. They know they're going to, because not only are Newcastle a massive brand in the Northeast, we know that. It looked, when we went to America, they had a huge fan base in America. They will have a massive fan base in Saudi Arabia now, and I think that's one of the main aims. They want to be the number 1 club in Saudi Arabia. And maybe we need to go there. They'll go to China, like more in America, stuff like that. And the next 2 years, we're going to take off. Absolutely take off, and which is it's going to bring more players in. The owners have confirmed it on the show as well, the episodes, that this is going to help us bring more players in. 100%. And that's what we need. We've been taken over at the right time, because I reckon in a couple of years' time, even now if we got taken over, it's getting more and more difficult to compete with the top teams, because they're getting further and further and further away from me with FFP. They are getting miles away. And when you look at the rest, unless you've got an asset like West Ham, we've got a Declan Rice, who they have sold for 100-odd million, you're going to struggle to compete. And it's a shame, but that's just the way the games go. It's got much more of a compass. Klopp, I'm going to get through some of the comments because there's loads of them. When Klopp leaves, it will be so he can spend more time brushing his teeth. For me, Klopp, Pepper, and the manager I want at Newcastle Flick are the best managers out there. Flick is the best technical manager out there. Who's Flick? Is that not?
And the manager I want Newcastle.
I'm thinking Nagelsmann, but I could be wrong. But Man City had 15 years over us last year. This year, I would say it was about 10 years now. To be honest, regarding Man City, I think Man City are so far of every bugger at the minute. It's just unreal. The closest team to me is Real Madrid. They're the closest to Man City. And when winning the Champions League, because Real Madrid have made some smart signings this summer for me. But in England, I think you've seen it already. I think you've seen already at the beginning of the season, Man City win games when they're not playing well. Man City would not drop points at home to Fulham beginning of the season. It's just not going to happen, and Arsenal have already done it. I'm not writing Arsenal off straight away, but I'm just saying that's Man City. They don't make mistakes like that. Tuna's missing out on all the good brilliant players at the moment. I don't get it. It's that guy from who's going to Brentford as well. I don't know where he's from, but he's 34 million. I think it's Bakayoko. Yeah. He's on his way to, and that is a young player that we were linked with. But the one thing I will say about our youth policy, I think the club have done really well with the youth signings they brought in. I've been impressed with that more than anything. The difference between us and the City is they have proven Champions League players. We buy English players, and apart from it, we need to. I mean, we'll get there, Tristan. We will get there. I get what you're saying in a way, because we've bought potential. Like I was saying at the beginning of the show, we've bought potential this summer.
Yep.
But have we bought players for this season? Right? I don't know. It all depends how Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall get into the lineup and if they stay there. But technically, we've brought Kieran Trippier as replacement, right? So we're not expecting to see Tino much this season. So £30-odd million was spent on Trippier's replacement. Now that's building for the future. It's not building for the present. And I've seen some reporters come out and say that they think maybe Newcastle should have brought more into the first team, but they're not knocking the signings. I don't think anybody is, but maybe we needed a bit more for the present. That was my question. Why is Palmer going to Chelsea? No idea. I'm guessing because Pep just doesn't fancy him. He's not as good as what Pep thinks.
Yeah.
I think he personally looks a quality player, but I'm not sure now with Pep getting rid of him.
Done. It's done. Fatty's signed for Brighton.
Does he?
Yeah, just to be for Beats.
Well,
Morano's just announced it.
That's. I mean, 3 years ago, he was one of the best young stars coming out in the world. So,
shocked me, mate, that deal.
Well, it's a loan, and maybe he just wants games, but he's obviously had some bad injuries, and that's where his career's just took a downfall a bit. But there's clearly a talented player there, and if they get the best out of him, he is going to cause some problems. But how many times have we seen a young, talented footballer come to the Premiership and it just hasn't worked? It's happened time and time again. But we'll see. And he has got potential. He is a talented player, that's for certain. Earnings-wise, was up with Tottenham and Everton before Ashley turned up. It was. Yeah, I think we were second in the league, weren't we, Lou? Behind Man United all them years ago in the 90s for revenue and stuff.
Aye.
See, Gavin Birch, he's miles ahead of Bruno on the talent as a number 8 for a small price to Liverpool. Liverpool have always managed to get players for a good fee for me. I don't know how they do it, but Salah, for example, they got for £30-odd million.
Absolute steal. That's why you'd snap the hand off if you're going to get £100 million.
And
that's had his prime already with you. It's mad.
A lot of that had to do with Michael Edwards being there in the past, because Michael Edwards was classed as a tough negotiator. But as for what they're doing now, I don't know. But then again, you've got to look at it this way: why you're buying Munich, selling him basically. You just don't know. Yeah, window has been shit apart from Tonali. We needed much better players. I wouldn't say it's been shit, but we've signed potential. And I think that's the one thing you can see. We've signed potential, but whether that's enough for this season, I don't know. I honestly don't know. Time will tell with that one. Agree. Yes, we would get 3 top players for 150 million. The problem would be finding the 5 players to fit the club, plus wages and release clause for 5 top players if we sold any player for 150 million. That's what Dan Ashworth's got to do. That was the comment I've just read out there. That's what Dan Ashworth's got to do. That's his job. Jan, it's our front line. Yes, we improved it, but not for top teams. They go missing. I don't see Isak as our end striker. We need a fearless striker. To be honest, I think that's probably the plan at some point. I think Isak is one of the most talented footballers I've seen around. He very similar to Thierry Henry, but maybe we need that out-and-out striker as well. And Osman would fit the bill perfectly. Or Upenda, sell Bruno for 150 and get Ferran, Torres, Thuram, Matthias de Ligt, January. I would sell him without a doubt. To shout. But obviously, I'm hoping we see the old Bruno, because Bruno for me hasn't had his best start of the season. But I just want to see the old Bruno. That Bruno we first saw. But I think it's partly where he's playing as well. I don't think Bruno's a 6. I'm getting less and less more convinced about it that he is a 6. So Sanjanola and Les was terrible from absolutely shocking. But that was Dalglish, I think. And he replaced him with Des Hamilton. Gary, the Adidas deal is the only one that can't be questioned as the makers. Exactly. It cannot be stopped. It's this is something else. I completely agree. But some people always come out and say it's market value and all that. But yeah, I've heard that as well. Great show, lads. Thank you, Rob. I am coming to an end soon because obviously nothing's happening on deadline day. So it was just going to be a one show. We have got the look ahead show later on for the Brighton game. So tune in for that one. I think it's about 8 o'clock. Baz is hosting that one with Mike. But I'll probably pop on as well. Newcastle Adidas, I like black and white stripes and zebras. I agree. 60 million. Is there actually anyone here pissed off with this window? Surely not everyone's looking think what we have is good enough for this. I think what people are saying is that some people aren't happy with the window because they feel like it's potential we're buying and not current players. Like I said before, if I'm going off on potential, this is an 8 or a 9 out of 10 window. If I'm going on present for the current season, it's a 6 for me. But that's only because these two fullbacks are potential. They're not somebody who's coming in straight off the bat and going, right, here we go. It's Trippier's replacement, one of them. So you could look at it both ways, to be honest. Like how that chief says, a lot of people in the company really want the partnership with Newcastle again. Yeah, it's all about money, isn't it? And Adidas will be getting a lot of money from us as well. $5 shipping worldwide. Could be Mbappe. Arrive in a week, no matter what language you speak. Gross fly. Well, if we don't get Champions Leagues, what top player will come? Money always talks. Honestly, it does. Look at half these talented players going to Saudi Arabia. They're not going for Saudi Arabian football. They're going for the money. And some players are like that. Well, a lot of clubs have maximised their sponsors, which is starting. Completely 100% agree. Bakayoko from PSV, he is a good player. That's his ball. Personally, we need a right forward with goals first, as Miggy is on his way out. I think he's going to see a lot of changes at Newcastle next summer. Players in and out, and I think players out will be players that have done a lot for over the years, but we need to go to the next level, and Miggy could possibly be one of them. Gary, I want top soda. He's both centre back and proven quality. I've heard of him, but I don't know much about him. So I'll take your word for that. And personally, I would have taken just a defender to come in. Palmer's okay, but he won't be a star. Pep knows. Pep wouldn't get rid of a star. And if he does, he's made a mistake. I worked it out, Gary, with a version for 35 minutes. We'll make 12 billion over 5 years. There you go, massive. They've always said they want to hit the Saudi Arabian market and they want to be the number one club in Saudi Arabia, and this deal will help them. Adidas is part of the Saudi Arabian national team as well. It's a perfect deal. Only explanation I can think of, Flick. Oh, yeah, I get you now. I thought you were on about Nagelsmann. The manager, yeah. Well, he will be. To be honest, managers over in Germany are tactically good. It's just Nagelsmann's another one. Brilliant manager. Need to look at our team last season and look at our team this season. Should be complaining about the window. We go in the right direction. Yeah, I agree with that, to be honest, because they did say it was a 5-year plan. I'm a bit impatient at times, but I do put me thinking head on as well. And we need to be patient. We've made massive strides, but I'm not one of these that thinks about the past. So likes of, oh, look where we were. No, we're in the present now. And we need to move forward. So we need to look on where we're going to get better and where we can improve. Adidas is going to help that. So I personally think we need to look ahead. And I'm a bit impatient, but we do need to remember that it is a 5-year plan. That's what Amanda told me. But we are well ahead of schedule, but we need to keep going. And if we do finish 7th or 8th at the end of the season, it's not a massive failure, but it's not an improvement, is it? So we just need to think that way. We need Tino Hall Bonds to start and click every game. That's what they came in for. So Hall's a cracking player. Tino I know a little less about than Hall. But Tino Livramento, from what I did see before his injury, was probably one of the best young fullbacks in the country. My comments made more sense when you're talking about Church, China and Sarah and growing supporters worldwide. Also, I'm Diacro Shop. Great show, thanks lads. Yeah, Diacro Shop, they are our sponsors. Baz has got the thumbnails for everything like that, so only he can access them. But if you can, I think that it's you get 20% off for which we'll put on the show later on for Diacro Shop. Sells some brilliant shirts. The Nick Pope one over the wall, which Baz has got. So give him a follow and sell some top quality merchandise. At Joseph, question for you, Gary. Made Joe Felix to last year of a transfer hanging around. Don't you think he could be a good solution while right-sided as a loan deal? Right, this is a 50-50 for me, right? Purely based on the fact that I think there's a talented player there, but I think there's a bit of a he's like a disrupts the dressing room type of player as well. At times for Chelsea, he looked class, but also at times he didn't. And maybe that was because he was at Chelsea. I don't know, right? There is undoubtedly a talented player there, right? He might have been overhyped a bit, but he is a talented player. Do I think he fits into our side? No, I don't think he does, because purely based on the fact that I don't think Eddie thinks he'll work hard enough. That's what he's not going to work as hard as Miggy does. And plus, I've heard that his loan fee is absolutely ridiculous, something like £50 million to loan him, which is why nobody's touched him. The problem I've got with him is if he is that good, why would he? Why wouldn't like the top teams be after him? That's the only worry I've got with him. He is a player, but not for me, and I don't think would be for Eddie either. Can't wait to get Willock back. I 100% agree. We could do with him. That's the code there. Baz 20 for 20% off. I will be sorting that out as well eventually when I get round with everything, because like I said, Baz has got all the stuff like that, and I'll sort that out because I'll be doing more shows. Liam's back on.
My internet just decided to turn itself off.
John O'Hare looked good and he's away the lads t-shirt from Diacro. He did. Have you got any of the shirts, Liam?
I haven't, no.
I know Baz has got the over the wall one. But I was saying is Baz has got all the stuff, so for me to show on the screen and everything like that, and he's still getting round to giving us everything, and I haven't got the Diacro stuff yet, so yeah. I will get it. But what I'm saying, like later on, I'll have it it'll be on the show later on. But I'm working on hoodie switch and mug for the cold weather. Thank you all, walking me oldest to the school bus. How are the lads? 100%. So if you get a chance, Diacro, but Baz, I think it's Baz 20, isn't it? We'll just pop it on. Which gets 20. You 20% off. That's it there. Baz 20 for 20% off. Good deal. Top quality merchandise. Right. I think we'll finish on some Liam and then we'll go, because obviously we've been on a while and it was meant to be a deadline day, but it's just turned out the way it is. Are you? You're not on the night, are you?
No, I don't think so.
No. Well,
what time is on tonight?
You what? Sorry.
What time is on tonight?
I'm not sure Baz has sorted it out. I think it'll be about 8 o'clock, 8:15 probably. But what I'll do is we'll finish off. I'll just get your prediction for the game.
Yeah, of course. I think it's going to be tough, like. I think we'll beat them, but I don't think it's going to be easy. I think it's going to be a little 1-0 win or something like that. Personally, when I had my little diagram up earlier on, the one thing I'd be saying for going up against Brighton is I'd stick Isak to sit. Literally, I'd stick Isak sit behind between Dunk and that the left back Brighton's got. I can't remember how he pronounced his name.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Esteban? Is that what it's
Estupian.
Aye, so
Estupian.
I'd keep Isaac to hold against them, and what I'd do is I'd tell Miggy to run him behind, so get them two to focus on him, and say to Miggy, right, soon as Isaac makes that run and them two follow him, because they're going to naturally follow him to go back, because another the absolute speed of him, because Duncan will not be able to keep up with Isaac in any way, but Estupian will keep up with him, so Estupian will drop off. Miggy needs to then drop into that space to fill that gap and get him behind that, because that's where we exploit them. Definitely. If you take Estupian out of that position, we exploit them by getting Miggy in behind. The one thing is we need a solid game again from Bruno, because for me Bruno's been very, very unreliable in the last two. I think he's overcommitted in areas that he shouldn't have. So if he plays the way we know Bruno can play and gets that link up play with Miggy, we're going to be in this game, because I think that's one thing that I'm starting to struggle to get my head around is why is Bruno's passes so, like, they're just not hard enough when they need to be. I mean, not soft enough when they need to be. He's overhitting them a lot.
Yeah.
Like last season, we're seeing it where him and Miggy thrived off each other. There was always that pass over the top and it was perfect and everything was pitch perfect. He's gone this season. He doesn't like the look for the pass with Miggy, so I want to see that again.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, I'm on the show later, so I'm going to give my opinion on everything later on. The one thing I will say is it is going to be a tough game. That I've no doubt whatsoever. But anyway, thanks for coming on, Liam. Much appreciated. Obviously, it would be nice one deadline day to have a deadline where we're just completely in it and we're buying this and that. And I mean, but it's what it is. Like I said before at the start of the show, I've never known Newcastle be completely in transfer windows at all.
Yeah.
It's just the way it is. Apart from the Andy Carroll one, and we weren't buying anybody. So hit the likes, yes. Thanks, Gary and Liam, and see you all at 8 o'clock. 2-1. If we have Big Joe, both are going to the late calls according to how I think we may scrape a draw without them. See what happens there. But later on, we've got the look ahead to the game against Brighton. I think Mike's coming on. Baz will be on. And we'll give our opinions on that. Don't forget, if you like what you were watching, hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel. It helps the channel massively. I've said I'm going to try and grow the channel the best I can. I'm going to get out as soon as the kids start going to school and next week and give me a bit more time. And I'm going to try and do stuff that Baz can't do, unfortunately, due to commitments. But thanks very much for joining us, and I will see you later on. Bye.
See you later.